All right, good. Hello, everybody. My name is Kuan Yong. I'm the product manager for the YouTube APIs. So, whether you've been using the APIs for some time now, or if you're relatively new to the APIs, my hope is that you guys will come away from this presentation, with some cool ideas for your next mashup, or at least a richer and better understanding of what you can and cannot do with the YouTube APIs. Now, I forgot what I was going to say, but the APIs, as Vic mentioned in the keynote this morning, that the Google data APIs have exceeded over 4 billion requests a day. And that's not surprising. The YouTube APIs alone account for hundreds of millions of those requests per day. So we have a huge community. Now, as developers, when we're writing apps, we tend to just go straight for the API documentation. Reading the terms of service, unfortunately, for many of us, comes as an afterthought. But if you guys haven't already read our terms of service, I think you guys are in for a real treat. Now, unlike some of the APIs that you may have used in the past, from Google or from a different web company, the YouTube APIs are by default cleared for commercial use, which means if you're developing an app, and if you want to sell the app, make money from the app, you can do so, without coming to YouTube and asking us for permission or doing some kind of a deal with us. And this is not true for many of the other APIs. And we think this is one of the reasons why our APIs have grown so big and grown so popular. But with all this power and all this flexibility that we're giving to developers like yourselves, there comes certain responsibilities. There's a bunch of things that we do not want our developers to be doing. So let me start my talk by going over what some of these main issues are. So any guesses from the audience what's going to come up on the next couple of slides, based on your own personal experience with our developer relations team or on groups? Anyone, any guesses? Well, let's start with a pretty obvious one, just trying to access our video streams directly. Now, the vast majority of the content on YouTube are not DRM protected. So, it's possible and quite frankly, not too difficult to rip out streams. But just because you can do that doesn't mean that you should. Our terms of service clearly prohibits using or performing any of the YouTube videos except through an authorized player. Now, if you're just developing a web app, this usually means using a Flash embedded player. Pretty straightforward. But what if you're trying to develop an app for non-Flash environments? If you're developing a mobile app. Well, the good news is, on some of the newer mobile phones, there's already a built-in YouTube client player. And really, what your app needs to do is to figure out how to delegate playback to this external player. Now, we know that this is not always possible on all phones, but on the iPhone, for example, it is quite possible to write a native app in such a way that the user is taken to the YouTube player to watch a video, and once they're done watching the video, they're automatically taken back to the app where they left off. So the whole experience is actually quite nice and seamless. But what about television, set-top boxes? What are your options there? And unfortunately, our terms of service do not allow you to develop an app that's intended for use on television displays. So really, you're going to have to look for a different technology provider if that's indeed your use case. But does constraining yourself to the Flash players necessarily mean that you can't do anything cool? Obviously, we disagree. And recently, we came across this really cool mashup that I'm quite excited to show you guys. Unfortunately, the site is no longer up because the campaign is over. But we have access to like a password-protected version of this site that I can use to show you guys. So this was done by a creative agency in Japan to promote an aquarium in, I think it was Okinawa in Japan. And what they've done is taken the thumbnails, which are available through the YouTube APIs, and mapped them on the vertices of a 3D whale shark. And the 3D model itself was created in Google SketchUp. So let's see what the end result looks like. Some of you guys may have seen this when it was up. I think it was tweeted and blogged about quite a bit just because it's like oh so cool. And it's actually better with the sound on, but we're not going to use sound here. So let's give this site a couple moments to load, and it should come up any second now. There you go. So this is all done in Flash. Very cool. Lots of thumbnails, all from the YouTube APIs. And when you click on any one of these thumbnails, the Chrome list player, which is again one of our authorized players, pops up, and you play the video in place. And this is a really cool way to browse, what looks like to be a pretty vast collection of videos that Aquarium has uploaded to YouTube. So really cool. Site's not up. Hopefully we can get a screencast of this posted somewhere so that you guys can take a look at it. All right, second thing I want to talk about, just kind of how you name your product or feature that uses the YouTube APIs. Unfortunately, you can't say, YouTube XYZ. That's the naming convention that we've reserved for our own features. And if you start doing that, then users are going to get confused as to who built this. Was it YouTube? Was it the community? So you can't do this. In some cases, you can say XYZ for YouTube, but we discourage this because you really should be thinking about building a video app and not like a YouTube app, which is why we encourage you guys to just call your product whatever you want and use the Powered by YouTube branding logo to indicate to your users that there is a YouTube integration as part of your cool mashup. Third thing, and this happens so often, it's embarrassing, just resist the temptation to monetize every spare pixel on your web page of AdSense ads. This is a terrible user experience. I'm sure you guys already know this. And not only that, in most cases, putting an ad next to a YouTube video on the same page, it's against our terms of service. And I'll actually go into the subtleties later on in this presentation. But for now, this is a bad idea. Also, the AdSense program policies state that you can't use AdSense ads in a way that violate another Google products program policies. So you're actually violating two sets of tosses here, and it's just a bad idea. So don't do this. So while we're on the topic of monetization, one of the things that you guys may want to think about is there ways for you to monetize your work that don't involve running ads? Before there was the internet. If you wanted to use a piece of software, you expect to pay for it. What a novel idea. And happily, some of these business models are starting to re-emerge, especially in the mobile world. So if you're writing an Android app or you're developing an iPhone app, you can sell the app and make money from day one by putting the app on the Android marketplace, on the iTunes App Store. So a really clean and easy way to make money. If your app is a little more complicated in that, you might want to think about segmenting your app into a free version and a premium version. The free version will be available to everybody. The premium version will have some advanced features, which may include something that's YouTube related. So use YouTube as a way to upsell your users from the free version to the premium version. And we do this ourselves with Google Earth. The free version is available to anybody. The pro version contains a movie maker tool, and part of that tool is the ability to upload your video directly to YouTube once it's done. So again, the YouTube portion is not the main reason why users are paying for the premium version, but it's one of the many reasons that you use for the upsell. But you may say, I'm a Web 2.0 guy. I'm in a business of creating websites. I can't really charge people to come to my website. So, what are my options? And if this is a situation that you're in, I would think about the different use cases, the different parts of the user interaction, and then identify the opportunities in each portion. So there's the video playback experience. This is the most obvious one. We tend to overly fixate on it, in my opinion. But unfortunately, it presents the fewest opportunities. You might want to think about content creation, allowing users to upload videos to YouTube in interesting, unusual ways, or, content discovery and organization. YouTube is designed for the masses. Is there anything you can do to better address specific niche interests or, communities? So, basically, your ability to monetize each part of the user experience is roughly proportional to the amount of value that you're adding to the user experience. Video playback, you're not really doing something that a user can already do on YouTube.com. So you're not adding a whole lot of value by slapping on an embed on your web page. But if you're creating this whole new tool to create videos or this whole new tool to discover videos, you're giving users a way to do something that they can't before. You're adding a lot of value, and therefore, you have a lot more flexibility in figuring out how you want to advertise against that experience. So let me call your attention to this one specific and probably quite famous clause in our terms of service, which says that you can, sell an ad on the page that contains a YouTube video unless there's already something else on the page that warrants that sale. And one easy way to think about this is, if you take the video out of your web page, one, are users still going to want to go to that web page? And two, is there substantial content left on the page that you will want to sell an ad against that page? And unfortunately, there's not a lot of cases where the answers are yes and yes. The classic video watch page, the user clicks on a video result, watches the video, that page clearly out of bounds. But there may be cases where there's a blog article, it's pretty long, you talk about a whole bunch of things. Part of that article, you're referencing a YouTube video, you have a clip in place. If you take that video out of that article, maybe the article is going to be a little less interesting, but users may still want to come to your page. Users may still want to read the article. So an ad sale is justified. But again, these cases tend to be quite rare. But if you do find yourself in a situation where you can actually sell an ad against a page with substantial video content from YouTube, we highly encourage using this feature in AdSense, if you're using AdSense, to basically screen out that page, that part of the page containing YouTube video metadata from the AdSense crawler, so you're not targeting ads to anything that's YouTube specific. This is actually documented in the AdSense Help Center, so if you guys find yourself in this situation, you can look this up. It's just an easy pair of HTML tags that you can add to your page. So let's talk about content creation, which we think is a lot more interesting, just because at YouTube, it's all about users sharing videos. Every minute, 20 hours of videos are being uploaded to YouTube. It's an amazing community. And video creation tools tend to be quite involved in the sense that you draw the user in. It's a captive audience. There's quite a bit of engagement involved in creating a video. So, think about how you can really monetize and capitalize on that part of the user experience. So one example we like is Animoto. If you guys already know of Animoto, it's a pretty cool website. You can upload photos, and they use some really fancy algorithms to turn those static photos into fully animated music videos with all sorts of special effects. Now, the process of turning these photos into something that's moving and engaging takes time. And while the user is waiting for the video to process, they display what we think is advertising on the page, where hey, you're waiting for us to process your video. Why not check out this trailer at the same time? So again, a captive audience that you can monetize. And then content organization and discovery. So again, as I said before, YouTube is built for the masses, to satisfy as many needs as possible. But you may be aware of specific communities that could benefit from perhaps an editorial curation of videos. So one example is golftudes.com. What the developer has done on this site is manually select a bunch of videos from YouTube that he thought could be interesting to anybody who's learning golf. And he created a really nice website experience around it. So let's take a look. Let's see, here we go. So much of this website is actually monetizable. He's not monetizing this site right now, but for example, this browse page with all these thumbnails and videos, on this page right here, you can monetize using your standard favorite web ads. But of course, the video play page itself is out of bounds to advertising. So that's curation of videos. If you don't want to be in the business of deciding what your users should be watching, you could think about a site that encourages community-driven efforts to pull together contents of videos. So an example here would be toddlow.com. I think the creator of that site's here. Hello. Nice to meet you in person at last. Cool site, by the way. That's tottll.com. It's a great site where parents can submit YouTube videos that they think other parents might enjoy watching with their young children. And, all the content on the site's community-driven, but it serves, a niche need. And we'd like to see more of such mashups for other communities on the internet. There's so many videos on YouTube, it's hard to find stuff if you have a really specific, narrow focus. So perhaps, you as the developer can come in and do something really interesting there. So that's a whole, discovery part. And then there's the browsing of search results. Search results don't always have to be a thumbnail next to some metadata. That's how YouTube does it. Doesn't mean that's how everybody should do it. There's other ways to present video results. You may have used Cool Iris, I think, which creates this OpenGL 3D visual experience of thumbnails in moving 3D space. Or Dipity's TimeTube is also interesting in that it takes a search term and does a bunch of queries to YouTube in the back end and presents the results on this very beautiful timeline that you can browse quite easily. I've searched for Obama here. The search takes a while, so I've just kind of pre-populated search box. And you can kind of browse videos on a timeline. You find something interesting to watch, double-click, and then there it is, the standard YouTube Flash player. So really quite cool. And what makes this site even more cool is that even though it looks and feels like a Flash app, it really isn't. It's all done in HTML and JavaScript. So pretty awesome. All right, now that I still have your attention, let me just use the rest of the presentation to just kind of go over some of the issues that we see developers run into pretty often and provide some recommendations on how to deal with these specific issues. So getting video metadata and how fresh that video metadata is. Get a lot of questions on that. And it can be a bit confusing because there is more than one way to get metadata from YouTube. There is the low latency, high QPS way for use cases where metadata freshness isn't your number one priority. You just want to show metadata. So search results, video description, title next to each result. Or you're building this site where the user can paste in a YouTube URL. You want to go to our server, grab the metadata for that URL, video ID, and then create an embed with the title and so on. So for these sort of very frequent operations, you can go to the videos feed to grab metadata. This feed is very highly cached. The quota is set pretty high, so you guys can go crazy. But it's not suitable for content management purposes. If you need the absolutely fresh as possible metadata, there is a different feed that you have to use, and that's the authenticated uploads feed. And for that, you actually get the freshest possible metadata you can get from the system. And what it's really good for is updating video metadata on YouTube. So you want to pull down the freshest copy of the metadata, update it, and then put it back on YouTube server. It's a pretty expensive read operation for us to support, and for that reason, the quota is set pretty low. But for most ordinary use cases, you shouldn't run into any issues. The next kind of tip that I want to highlight is just avoid trying to construct the embed URL by hand. We know it's really easy to do. You take the video ID, you prepend it with youtube.com/v/. Don't do that. Instead, use the media content URL that we provide in the feed response. Now, if you look at the URL that we give you, it actually contains a lot more information than what you normally find. Of note is the client ID, a scrambled version of your dev key. And this is useful to us and to you too, because if for some reason we suspect there's any abuse going on, if we can identify the source of traffic, we're much more likely to go to you first and figure out what's going. Hey, what are you trying to do, instead of just shutting you guys down. So having the ability to know what our developers are doing is helpful. And also, we plan to make all this information available back to you through a tool that we're currently working on. So if you use this way of creating your embeds, we can track the number of playbacks that are coming out of your site, which means we can report this information back to you in our developer tool. We're still working on that tool. It's not launched right now. It should be available in a couple of months. So the earlier you start providing the right embed URL, the more data you're going to have when we do launch that tool. And just a little tidbit, instead of constructing that whole HTML snippet by hand, consider using the Swift Object JavaScript library that you can find on code.google.com. It makes it really easy to create these HTML snippets for doing embeds. And if you're using that JavaScript library, you just need to set the URL for that object, and it'll just do the right thing for you. Next thing is versioning. So back in October last year, I'm not sure if all of you guys are aware, but that was when we launched versioning. So there's actually 2 versions of the YouTube APIs in production today. There's V1 and V2. V2 is the one that we're actively supporting and adding new features to. V1 is kind of frozen. It doesn't have as many cool features. So if you want the absolute latest and greatest, you should be using V2. If there's any problems that we find in production, we're much likely to fix them for V2 first than for V1. Note that V2, however, is not the default in some cases. If you're using the raw HTML request, you should add v equals to 2 to the URL request, or add this additional HTTP header field to your headers. And if you're using a client library, as you should, in some cases, V2 is the default, some cases not. The best practice is to always specify which version you want to use. So, last but not least, just want to emphasize that we at YouTube really love our developer community. We work really hard with our content providers to make as much content available through the APIs as possible. This is not always easy, depending on who we talk to, but we feel that the developer community is really important to us. We have a group set up at Google Groups that's very actively monitored. It's a great place for you to post your questions. We try to answer as many of the questions as possible. A lot of the issues, the problems, the feature requests that you raise in that group forum get a lot of visibility among the product team and the engineering team at YouTube. So we take your feedback very seriously. So if you aren't already participating in our group, highly encourage you guys to do so. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Any questions I can answer? Please use the mic if you have any questions, so that we can capture that on video. Cool. Anything? Can you use the mic, please?
Hello. Hey, I was wondering if you could maybe speak to why it is. Could you help explain what the caution is regarding the ads sold against videos? And maybe, I know you're not a lawyer, but you can help us sympathize with why that's not a good idea.
So the question was, could we perhaps explain a little bit more as to why we have a toss clause that says you can't run an ad against a video? And really the main reason for that is we need to be absolutely sure that you have the rights to monetize that video playback before we can let you do it. And in most cases, if you're just pulling videos from YouTube, our agreement with users who upload videos to us is that it's really meant to be performed on YouTube and on other sites if we do allow that. And where that happens, the understanding is the content provider needs to be identified. The rightful rights owner of that video needs to be identified, and then the rights owner decides whether or not the video can be monetized. And if monetization happens, there needs to be some kind of a rev share or some kind of a financial deal with the original content owner. So if we're just letting you put an ad next to the video, you're really making money from something that doesn't belong to you, and we don't feel that that's right. I'm sorry, you have a question?
I had a similar question, but on the other side of the coin. we're advertisers, and we actually wanted. There are some videos that are very useful for us, and they get a lot of page views, video views, or whatever, and they rank really high on search engines and on the YouTube site. And we'd love to use AdWords to advertise on those videos. And we don't see any ads over there. We see comments, we see the videos, but we don't see any ads. If you could put in ads, that'd be great for us.
Oh, are you referring to the watch page or the search results page?
I'm referring to the YouTube watch page or whatever. Like it shows up on search result. Like for one of the terms that we are interested in, for instance, the YouTube video shows up, and it's really relevant to what we sell. So if you could put an ad there, that would be great for us.
We do have different ad products if you want to advertise on YouTube. I mean, there is options for targeting ads on the watch page as well as on search results using AdWords-like systems. So I'm not sure if you're aware of sponsored
I was
videos.
not aware of that because I don't see any ads there. So I didn't know that I could actually put ads.
Yes, so there's a sponsored videos product which allows you to promote videos on search results pages. And then separately, there's a way to buy advertising on YouTube watch pages.
Okay, that's the one.
So yeah, I mean, I can follow up with you offline if you're interested in learning more about the opportunities. Cool. Any other questions from you guys? Sorry.
Yeah, I had a quick question about I've seen some of the YouTube videos. They have some customization. They'll have like a red transparent bar with some text on it. Is that the YouTube Pro version?
With different versions of the embedded player, and there's the custom embedded player where you can actually customize the colors around the chrome of the video. But there's also the chromeless player, which is really just a video canvas with no controls, no UI, just a video window. And you can use Flash or JavaScript or HTML, whatever, to build a UI around the player. So some of the players that you may have seen were actually created from scratch on top of a chromeless player, which is why the UI may look a little different.
Yeah, this was actually, the player was the same, but on top of the video, there was some text that was comes up at a certain time frame.
Oh, those are annotations.
Annotations.
Yeah, so annotations are actually created by the content, by the person who uploaded the video to YouTube. And they basically follow the player, and you can actually turn them off on the player if you
Okay, how do I create annotations?
Annotations actually there's no API for annotations today. So if you want to create annotations, first of all, you have to be the owner of the video, and you can do so on the YouTube watch page when you're logged in as the owner. And it's an interactive graphical tool for you to draw like little speech boxes.
So we don't need YouTube Pro for that? That's just regular YouTube?
No, there's no API at all. It's a graphical tool on YouTube.com that you can use to annotate videos.
And the name of the graphical tool is?
I'm sorry?
What's the name? Is there like a
YouTube Annotations.
YouTube Annotations.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And it's
Excuse me.
Of course it's free.
Yeah, can I ask a question about the chromeless player? So we're actually using the player. The problem is you build the player in Flash 2, right?
ActionScript 2.
Yeah. ActionScript 2, but and we had to use local connection or whatever way to have bridge.
Yeah, we published
so my
a couple
question
of
is,
workarounds.
what is your plan to update your versions?
I mean, we're aware of this. We're working on it.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating because
we understand it.
Right.
It's quite a bad workaround to get your
So do you have plan at all? Do you have plan at all for the
We're working on it. We're working on
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
So just hang in there.
Thank you.
I have a question. It's more related to the legal things, but today in YouTube you can see more of the copyrighted content uploaded by somebody else. Suppose if I am writing my own application and if I'm searching and copyrighted content if I display and the original owner of that video, if he flags it or if he sues me, like who's going to fight it, whether it's me or it's YouTube?
Oh, sorry, can you repeat your question? So you own the video and someone else uploads your stuff?
Yeah, there are like three parties. One is the owner of the video and somebody else actually they upload it, they might capture it from a television or somewhere, they upload it to the YouTube and then I search in a YouTube using YouTube API and display it in my domain. So the one who is the owner, he sees that video displayed in my domain and he sues me. So who's going to fight it, whether it's me or it's YouTube?
Oh, they should definitely come to YouTube if they have a
So
concern
I'll not
about
be
your
penalized
content,
for
because we're just providing your content to you through the APIs, which is why it's important for you to use one of our embedded players, because we provide a channel for delivering the video content to the end user. So if you run into any issues like that, please ask them to go to youtube.com. We have a site that talks about our DMCA obligations and what the escalation process should be.
So that means like I can do any kind of search on a YouTube and I can display the...
If you're playing by the rules, if you're adhering to our terms of service, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I come very much from the content creation world, filmmakers. Looking really at this adding metadata, and particularly Adobe's plans with XMP, the metadata along there. Are there plans for that within the FLV file? Are there plans for any of that within YouTube?
No, I'm actually not aware of what those specific requirements are. So no. Right. So this is additional metadata that.
Yeah, that's put in at script stage, and it goes through with the time code of a video all the way through. So it's then associated in Premiere Pro in Adobe, Premiere Pro, with the video. So it's alongside the FLV file. It's going to be a great way to monetize the video.
There's not something that I'm aware of, but we can definitely talk more, after the presentation.
Right,
Yeah.
great, good, thank you.
I have one more quick question.
Sure.
Can I just extract the audio version of a video
Sorry,
in
can you
YouTube?
move a little closer to the mic?
Can I extract the audio version of a video which is hosted in YouTube? Like let's say there's a song, it's in video. I want to extract the MP3 version of it, and then is it
well,
legal?
see, by doing that, you're not using an authorized video player, so automatically the answer is no.
So
because if you're using one of our Flash players, you can't actually do that.
Actually, like I saw that one of the plugins written in PHP in the internet, they actually give the MP3 out of MP3 or MP4 out of...
Yeah, I mean, we're aware of sites that try to access the video stream directly and process that stream, and we actually do block those sites as we find them.
Okay, but that's not legal, actually.
That's against our terms of service, yes.
Thank you.
Cool. Anything else? If not, thank you so much for your time. I'm actually going to be around for office hours tomorrow, starting at 3. I'm probably going to be there all day. So we have office hours tomorrow afternoon. So I hope to see some of you guys there. We'll also have a YouTube talk tomorrow where we'll be announcing a new social feature. So if you guys want to hear more about what we're announcing, be sure to come tomorrow. And again, see some of you guys there. Thank you.